Hey guys, I'm going to do a short video on how to disassemble and change the O-rings in a Tipx spool valve. Okay, so now you want to put pressure on the block when you separate the clamshell so you don't lose all your internals. Put that aside. Now pull back on your breech, pull out your block, come out your breech, and then now you have no pressure and you can get to your spool valve. Now that we got the spool valve out, we can open it up and see if there's any damage to the O-rings inside. First thing I'm going to do is take off the front, give it a quick little twist with a wrench. Set that aside. Now you need a set of lock ring pliers for the back to get the pin out. Once you have the lock ring out, you can flip over the spool valve, and what you're going to do is push out the internals at the back. Alright guys, now you can check the internals of the spool valve for the O-rings for any damage and replace them before you put it back in. These are the only moving O-rings in the spool valve. These ones do not move, so you only have to replace these ones usually. After you've changed the O-rings, you can go ahead and grease it, and then you can reassemble the spool valve. Okay. Spool valve, body. Just make sure the spring goes in the hole on the inside of that. Push it back together, and then now you're ready to put the back lock ring on. Okay, once that's in place and you check it over, make sure it's working freely, and then you're ready to put the front cap back on. I always just give this a little, make sure it's snug with a wrench, and then your spool valve is ready to go back inside the Tipx. If you've replaced the O-rings on the inside of the spool valve and you're still having issues, you want to check the firing pin assembly and see if there's anything wrong with the internals of Alright, so there's two O-rings on the inside where connected to the actual spool valve. If it's leaking, you want to check these guys, but if you're not getting a leak through the marker, then these ones are probably fine. But if you're having issues firing, then you'll probably want to check in the end here. So you want to pull out the firing pin itself first. Make sure it's not bent. And then, using your Allen key, you want to take that brass out. Now there is an O-ring inside, followed by a brass fitting, and then another O-ring. And that's everything inside the shell. So once you get your 2 new O-rings, I always just give them a drop of oil. And then you're good to put them in. Remember the little brass piece? It goes in between the 2 O-rings. Once you have the 2 O-rings and the brass fitting in the end, you now can put the brass cap back on. Once that's on, the firing pin is ready to go back in. Make sure it runs smooth in and out, and then it's ready to go back on the spool valve. Now that's ready to go back inside the Tipx.